ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।
Thank you, Anu. And welcome back, everybody, to the final session of this wonderful text called Atma Bodha. So Rohitji was just telling me that we started this in last May, almost a year back. Oh, Gina, I thought you were on vacation.
Sorry, I'm going tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. So you're there today. Okay. That's good. Okay. So we spend a lot of time, especially last year, we tried to stick with the basics. We never got into a complicated discussion, but this year we turned the direction and went into a lot of details. Just like we do in an Upanishad class, we went to that level of detail. Especially we use the Swapna Drishtanta a lot, because that is where the last or the ultimate concept of the Vedanta would be intellectually clear only when you use that example. And this book has a lot of beautiful example. That's why this book is my favorite book after Bhagavad Gita, because it is so rich with a lot of beautiful examples. I haven't seen even a book which explains the Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti in this clarity. So these are some of the good topics. And especially even the nature of Brahman, which we have been seeing for last few verses. It's so beautiful. And another good topic we discussed in this book is the Vedantic meditation, Nidithyasanam. In a few verses, Shankaracharya explains this in a brilliant manner. So today we will come to that final portion of this chapter, which is the vision of a self-realized master, or the vision of enlightenment, or the enlightenment. That is the final topic. And the last verse, which is the verse 68, can be seen as the Phalashruti, or every book concludes with the benefits of studying that book. So that's the topic we need to cover. So without any delay, we can get started. We can start with verse 65. Now this should be fairly easy to understand, because we have been discussing this example for a while. So it will be very easy for you to follow. So Anu, if you don't mind, you can chant this verse.
सर्वगं सच्चिदात्मानं ज्ञानचक्षुर्निरीक्षते अज्ञानचक्षुर्निरीक्षेत भास्वन्तं भानुमन्धवत्.
Another beautiful verse. He tells Sarvagam Sachidatmanam. Sarvagam means everything or all pervading. Sachit Atmanam. Everything is nothing but the Brahman or the Sachidananda Atma. Whatever you see is Atma. But what is the nature of this Atma? Even though it presents everywhere, you cannot see that easily. Even though it is readily available everywhere, I'm not able to perceive it directly. Remember the Bhagavad Gita verse? Maya tadamidam sarvam jagada avyakta murtinam. I present in everything, but not directly perceivable. That is the same thing. So to perceive this Atma, you need a special eye known as Jnana Chachur. It can be discovered only through the eye of wisdom or the knowledge. Without that, you cannot see that. And then what is the next verse he tells? Ajnana Chachuredena. One with an impure eye. Ajnana Chachur. If the vision is blinded with the Ajnana, you won't be able to see that. How? He said, an Antha, a blind, cannot perceive the sun. Even though the sun is present always, an Antha or a blind cannot see this. So let's go in detail, right? So the first one is Sarvagam Sachidanandam. Everything is Atma. I'm sorry, but the only example we need to follow here is the Sopna Drishtanda. So we said the God or the reality has two forms. One is the Paraprakriti, which is loosely translated as transcendental nature of Ishvara, and then the Aparaprakriti, which is the immanent nature of the Ishvara. In the dream metaphor or the Swapna Drishtanda, what exactly is the dream world? It is the dreamer's mind stuff. Remember that one example we have been consistently using. You're dreaming, lying in the bed of in New Jersey, you are dreaming. In that dream, you are experiencing that you are in Gangotri or Rishikesh. You're seeing the mountains, you're seeing the Ganga, you're seeing the other people, and you're looking at the sky, you're seeing sun and the moon and the star. You're experiencing an entire universe. What exactly constitute of that entire universe? The Ganga is made of what? The Rishikesh is made of what? And the sun is made of what? Everything is but my mind stuff. So that is exactly what it is. Sarvagam Sachidanandam. Just like that. So again, this is an example. And I always say every example has its own shortcoming or the defects. So please don't think that this is God's dream. This is only to illustrate the idea. Just to illustrate the idea that the material cause and the intelligent cause is the one. So just like the dream world is nothing but the dreamer's mind stuff, the law that governs the dream world is nothing but the dreamer. The person who created the dream is nothing but the dreamer. And where the dream exists is in the dreamer. And where the dream goes back at the end of the dream, it is dreamer. So in the dream world, in the dream time and the dream space, everything you see, everything you can perceive is nothing but the dreamer's mind. And the dreamer's mind is another order of reality, whereas the dream world is in another world of reality. So while I'm in the dream, the dream world is my immanent world, whereas the mind is the transcendent nature, because these two are in different orders of reality. Correct? Because they are different orders of reality. I said, like, the mortgage you pay in the dream is not going to reflect in the actual credit in the waking world. So just like that, it is different orders of reality. But while I am in the dream, everything I see is nothing but the waker's mind. So just like that, in the waking world, when I am sitting here, the whole universe I experience, the other human beings, the computers, the sun and the moon and the star, the trees, plant and human being, everything is nothing but the transcendental form of the Ishvara. But what is the problem? While I am sitting in the dream, I am not able to perceive the transcendent form of that Ishvara because it's in a different order of reality. And the only way for me to realize that is through knowledge. So that's why he tells Jnana chakshur nirichyati. You can see that only through the eye of knowledge. So in the dream, while you are in the dream, if that dream become a lucid dream, that is the awareness. While you continue to exist in the dream, I feel that my identity is outside of that. So that is the jnana. And that jnana, that is the only way you can see this reality. And ajnana chakshur na ichati. When your vision or the perception is covered by ignorance, you will not see this. Just like Shankara tells, a person who is blind cannot see the sun. The sun is shining, it is emitting its light everywhere else. The whole world is shined because of that sun. But if I am blind, I cannot see that sun. So if my vision is blind, I cannot see that Atma. So it's a paradox, right? We say that God is everywhere. I see everything but God. That's the challenge. So in the dream world, imagine that you are saying that, okay, the creator is lying in a bed. His mind is what you see. Wherever you inquire, you won't see that. Exactly the same logic. So please, the takeaway is, everything I see in this universe is nothing but the Brahman, the absolute reality, which is appearing in the immanent form. But the nature of the Brahman is in the transcendental nature. So we need to understand the transcendent nature of the reality, the immanent nature of the reality. And what is available for my direct perception is only the immanent nature. But when I have this knowledge, when I look at the immanent, I will be able to relate to the transcendent. That is the Jnana Chakshu we are talking. So symbolically in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives Arjuna a Jnana Chakshurs. You can see. It's symbolic. You will see that in the Vishwarupa Darshana. So when he has that Vishwarupa Darshana, it's a brilliant chapter with beautiful imagery. You would see the entire universe in Krishna. So there are two chapters in Bhagavad Gita. One is called Vibhuti Yoga. The other one is Vishwarupa Darshana. So Vishwarupa Darshana, you see the entire universe in one Lord. And in Vibhuti Yoga, what happens? You see that one God in entire universe, right? One is the entire universe is in one Lord. The other one is the entire Lord, means the whole universe. You can see that one Lord. One is one to many. The other one is many to one relationship. And that's exactly what is covered in this verse. Any questions or comment? It's the Advaita vision at its best, these verses. Okay, so let's continue then. Okay. Anu, could you please chant?
श्रवणादिभिरुत्तेप्ता ज्ञानाग्निपरितापितः जीवः सर्वमलान्मुक्तः स्वर्णवद्योतते स्वयम्.
This is again a brilliant example without much shortcoming, because otherwise every example has some problem. This example is so brilliant. So he tells Shravana Adipihi Uditaha Jnana Atni Paritapitaha. So Shravana Adi, meaning Shravana, etc. Adi means etc. there. What it means? Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, Adi practices. So with the Vedantic practices, through the practice of Vedanta, that is what is indicated by Shravanadi. So, and Udiptaha means kindled. So through the practice of Vedanta, you kindle what? Jnanatni. a fire of knowledge. So you kindle a fire of knowledge through the practice of Vedanta, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. And then what happens? What does this Jnanagni does? It is paritapitaha. It will fire up what? Jiva sarva malan muktaha. It will free up, it will heat up, and in that blazing fire of knowledge, all the impurities will go away. Just like how the gold ore shines when you remove all the impurity. This is the example, brilliant example. So let's try to understand this example in a little bit detail, right? So take the example first. I don't know, like in schools, we study this example. How do you get this iron ore? Suppose you want to create, say, 1 gram of gold. How much they dig? You know that? I remember we studied, like, there is a Kolar gold factory, right? How they get this iron ore, then they wash it, then it goes through a lot of cleansing process initially, because initially when they dig, it will have mud, it will have other elements, lot of stuffs. But how do you purify? Initially you wash it, you clean it, multiple process. And once the metal is identified, what do? You heat it up. And finally you get, from the iron ore, you get the iron. Look at the brilliance of this example. Did we manufacture gold here?
No.
What was that process that did?
Clean.
The process just removed all the obstacles and impurity. That's the beauty and brilliance of this example. The gold was always there. The nature of the gold is always shining. But when you look at what you dig initially, you cannot see that gold. But through that process of cleansing, that process of extraction, in Sanskrit you call it as pudikaranam. That is a word in Sanskrit we use. In that spudikaranam process, you clean this gold, and finally the natural nature of the gold get revealed to you. So as a jiva, I don't have to manufacture Atma. I don't have to create shining to Atma. The Atma is pure. It is always shining. So as a spiritual seeker, what is the first process I do? Karma yoga and upasana yoga. The karma yoga is going to clean my mind. Upasana yoga is going to stabilize my mind. In this particular example, when you dig the iron ore, you have to clean it, you have to wash it, and you have to make sure that it is ready to be that heating process. So the cleaning process refers to the karma yoga, upasana yoga. And once it is done, through the practice of Vedanta, the fire of knowledge, how do you kindle that fire of knowledge? Shankaracharya tells, through Shravanadi, etc. So by the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, you kindle a fire, because the Shravana and Manana and Nididhyasana is not creating the Atma. It is not modifying the Atma. It is just removing the Viparita Bhavana and ignorance. That's all it does. So just like that, the the gold get revealed. You see the shining of the gold. When you do that paritapta means in that heat of fire, the gold becomes shining. And like that, through the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana practice, your nature of the Atma get revealed. Beautiful example, right? This example, I cannot even find a defect. It's beautiful. Any comments?
Can you show this slide once?
Yeah, sure. So it is Shravana Adibhihi Udiptaha, meaning Shravana, Manana, Nidithyasana, etc. is going to Udiptaha, means it is kindle. Jnana Agni, the fire of knowledge. And what that fire of knowledge does, it is going to Paritapinaha, it heats up. And what happens? The Jivaha Sarvamala Muktaha, the individual he will be freed from all the impurities. How? Just like the Sorna. The Sornavad Dyodyate Swayam. Just like the gold shines by itself when you heat.
I think, Rajesh, one quick comment is, see, probably sometimes some people who are mainly like tend to be more devotional, may get offended by only through the eye of wisdom or the gnana agni, this kind of things. You realize only through the eye of wisdom. So this is actually through the practice of Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam, right? That's where actually Shravanam and Mananam, that's where the devotion is playing a role there. The cleansing process, the Sputikarana process. Yeah.
Yep. Devotion means the second verse of the Atma Bodha even starts to say that, right?
Yeah.
Every other practice is indirect.
Yeah.
All the yogas are indirect. It gives you the preparedness.
Yeah.
Remember that example Shankara using?
Yeah.
The cooking of the food. What exactly cooks the food? Only the fire. But can you cook the food without the vessel? Can you cook the fire without, without the water? Can you cook the food without the fire pit, everything? All that is required. But what exactly cooks? It's the fire. So like that, only jnana, only knowledge can reveal the truth. Yes, people may get offended, but that's that's what Advaita Vedanta tells. Of course, you can go to the bhakti schools or the remember we talked about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It appears as though it comes like a blunt. It's not appears. It is actually blunt.
It is. It's a fact.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was listening to something today, and it was saying that it's like kindergarten versus MSc studies, right? For a kindergartner, you have to learn the basic level, so that's where the devotion comes. But then when you reach the MSc, you're talking about the Vedanta, the Advaita.
It's a different point of view, but bhakti has its own merit. It plays a significant role in that cleansing process. So honestly speaking, bhakti yoga is a kind of karma yoga. It's part of the karma yoga. I think Swami Swarupananda ji brilliantly connected that point, right? He during that 15 minutes talk, he did a great job with the bhakti yoga. If you haven't seen that, please go and see. He was saying that, but in that talk itself, he said the bhakti cannot take you to the highest. So it helps you. That was very clear. And please listen to Swami Chidananda Puri. He also said the same thing. Every other practice will take you to the doorstep. But what takes you to that final destination is knowledge. And please understand, this is the Advaita Vedanta vision. Yes, Vishishta Advaita has differences there, Dvaita has differences there, and all the Bhakti schools comes under the Dvaita. But my only humble submission is, use your intellect. If you want to blindly follow something, faith, yes. Remember good discussions we had with the chapter 9. Do you want your understanding to be childish? Or do you want something which challenges you? It offers such a great teaching and challenges your understanding. This is what Advaita Vedanta does. This is no way to look down upon the other schools. Absolutely not. Beautiful. And even I was reading a verse from Yoga Sutra today. Like it is, I believe it is verse 19. He talks about these two samadhis, samprajnada and asamprajnada. So the samprajnada samadhi, he tells, if you get samprajnada samadhi and if you lose your body, what happens? You have two paths, exactly like the Gita. One is called Bhava Pratyaya, the other one is called Upaya Pratyaya. Bhava Pratyaya means you may come back to this world, but you don't have to go through the Samprajnada Samadhi again. You can go to the Asamprajnada Samadhi again. There Patanjali tells what exactly is you need. Prajna. Prajna means knowledge. That's exactly the point. The end is only through the knowledge. That is that last lap. Up to that last lap, you have many choices. You can do Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. But in the modern world, as Vivekananda tells, a combination of karma, bhakti, all that would be better. So here you can see different masters have different point of views and they differ. But if you go through the traditional teaching of Advaita Vedanta, this is what it teaches. Okay, so let's continue. Anu, could you please stand?
हृदाकाशोदितो ह्यात्मा बोधभानुस्तमोपहृत् सर्वव्यापी सर्वधारी भाति भासयतेऽखिलम्.
Another beautiful verse, he tells, Hridakasho udito hi Atma. He means indeed. Where exactly the sun of Atma rises? In your mind. Heart, Hrid means, technically means heart, but symbolically it refers to mind. So when you do this Shravanam, Mananam, Nidithyasanam, you feel that you see like a sunrise, this Atma comes up. Again, the example is so brilliant. Really speaking, do you think that the sun is rising? Think through that. The sun is there always. It's only because when the earth moves into the right direction, it appears that the sun is rising. So the Atma, Hridakasho udito Atma, it appears that the Atma rises. Atma rises in your mind when you do the Shravana, Manana, Nidithyasana. But honestly speaking, just like the sun is relatively stationary, the Atma is absolutely stationary. Nothing is happening. Only then you are in a position to see the Atma. See, look at, means this is how the commentators tell. Even though the sun is, means when you say the sun is rising, you are moving closer to sun. And when you reaches to a certain level, you see that the sun is visible. Otherwise, what happens when the earth turn around? You are moving away from the sun and you won't be visible. So when you are moving towards sun, it appears the sun is coming towards you. Just like that, through the Shravana, Manana, Nidithyasanam, you are removing the obstacle and you are seeing the Atma. So it appears that the sun is rising in the mind. Again, brilliant example. And then he tells, what is that? Bodha Bhanu. Okay, Bodha Bhanu. Tamo Bhyatat. So this Bodha Bhanu. Bhanu means what? Sun. Bodha Bhanu means what? The sun of Atma. Atma is like, we use an example, like Atma is equated to a sun. So this sun removes all the tamas, all the ignorance. So through these practices, when you are getting closer to sun, the sun, it appears that it rises in your mind, the Atma. It will destroy all the ignorance. And what is the nature of this Atma? Sarva Vyapi. It pervades everywhere. But Sarvadhari, look at the word. It is carefully chosen words. It's not randomly thrown words. Look at the dream example. Sarva Vyapi. Everything is pervading. What is pervading? The mind stuff. Sarvadhari. What exactly carries everything in? Everything in the dream world is sustained in that dreamer's mind. So like that, the entire universe is pervaded by Atma, and the entire universe is sustained by Atma. And like Padi Pasyate Akhilam. And what happened? It illuminates everything else. Akhilam Pasyati. It shines and it illuminates everything. Imagine, in your dream world, you see a sun. What exactly illuminating that sun? It is my mind. So the absolute reality, it illuminates everything. It allows me to see everything. Everything is that Atma, that vision of oneness that will come. This, again, this is, I personally feel that this is the Advaita Vedanta at its highest sense. This is because you cannot go beyond. Like you're saying that sarva, look at the word used, sarva vyapi, sarva dhari. If you say sarva vyapi, you can think of it like air. Air is not everywhere, at least space. Whatever you see, space is there. But the pen is different from the space. So just to avoid that, he tells sarvadhari. Everything is sustained by that. That's it. It's not sarva vyapi, it is sarvadhari also. So amazingly powerful verses. So that's what this verse is. Any comments? Beautiful. So let's go to the final verse where the meter changes. So we studied everything. And now what is the promise of fulfillment if you follow this teaching? That is the final verse. So Anu, could you please chant? This is a different meter. Just he wanted to underline that fact.
दिक्तेशकालाद्यनपेक्ष सर्वगम् शीतादिहृन्नित्यसुखं निरञ्जनम् यस्वात्मतीर्थं भजते विनिष्क्रियः स सर्ववित् सर्वगतो मृतो भवेत्.
Okay, so look at the last thing. That is the benefit. Sa sarvavit sarvagato mruto amruto bhavet. It is mrita. It is amrita because of the santi. You chant this. Amruto bhavet. You become immortal. Because when I identify myself with the dreamer, my longevity is limited to the duration of the dream. Isn't it? But if I go beyond that, when I realize that it's only a dream, yes, my dream body and dream mind will end at the end of the dream, but I continue to exist. So like that, when I shift my identity from the body mind to my Atma, yes, when I leave this world, my body and mind will go, but I continue to exist. That is why Amruto Bhavet. Right? That's beautiful. And what is that? You become Sarva With. With means knowing. Sarva With means what? You know the essence, most important thing in your life. The most important thing in the life is what? About myself, knowledge about myself. So remember, we joked and we clarified. Don't think that by enlightening you will be master of Korean language. Or if somebody asks you to prove like a differential equation, you may not be able to solve. An enlightened master will not be able to solve. That's not what we are talking here. We are talking only about when such verses, because I'm telling this because somebody asked this question in the class when the Bhagavad Gita. When we say that all knowing means, will he be able to know all the languages of the world? Will he be able to do all the science of the world? Can he do machine learning? Or can he do this? No, that's not what we are talking. We are talking.
I think one time Sadhguru was asked in a huge discussion actually. So why can't you speak Hindi then? If you think if you have all the powers, why don't you speak? Why can't you rather speak Hindi? That was a very interesting question. So
yeah, exactly. These are ridiculous questions.
Yeah.
Sarva Vid, Sarva Gato, Amruto Bhaved. And you feel you are limitless. Because in my current state, I am limited. Limited by space, time, and causation. And that is what is negated in the first verse. So this, as Atma, what happened? Drisya kaladi anapekshya sarvam. So you perverts. Dik meaning direction. Desha means space. Kala means time. You transcend as Atma, right? Not as the body. See, if the dreamer identifies that it is the mind that perverts everywhere, his scope has extended. He will understand that my real nature is the mind, and that mind perverts the entire creation, which is the dream. Like that, Dik, Desha, Kaladi, Anapeksha Sarvan. You pervades, you transcends all of these. And what is the next benefit? It removes all the suffering. Because in the dream world, whatever is suffering you have, it is because your limited identity with the dream body. When you get your real identity, you get all the eternal joy. That's what you can talk about. Nitya Sukham, the ultimate contentment. By how? Niranjanam. Niranjanam means the pure, most pure. Anjanam means it is the like impurities, stain. So it's without spotless joy, uninterrupted joy, akhanda anandam. That we saw this in the previous verse. That is the second thing. Sorry, second point. And then how do you get? He tells, so ya swatma tirtham bhajate. So what exactly you need to worship, or what exactly you need to seek? Tirtham. What is tirtham? Tirtham means it's a purifier. But what is the real tirtham? You go to Kedarnath, allow it. It's beautiful. You go to Rishikesh, you go to Ganga. They are considered as tirtham, a purifier. But that's all relative purifier. So in a subtle, sarcastic manner, Shankara tells, yes, swatma tirtham bhajate vishishim. So you go to that tirtha, which is inside yourself. And and get purified. So when you purify that, you will be freed from all sufferings. You will be all-knowing. You will be enlightened, and you will be getting the ultimate happiness. And that is the benefit of following this teaching, not merely studying this teaching. This is the final promise.
So Rajesh, why does he call here that as a Tirtham?
Tirtham means purifier. Like when you go to Ganga, it is believed that your body and the mind will be purified. But what is the problem with that Tirtham? If you go to a river, you might be able to clean your body, but there is a possibility that you can touch the dirt again. It's only as of now it cleans. But once you cleansed with by knowing Atma, you're always pure. See, the second chapter of the Gita, the final verse is what? Esha Brahmi Sthiti Partha Nainam Prapya Nam Vimuhyati. Once you know that, there is no confusion. There is no possibility of error. So this is Atma Bodha. This is true to its name. This book gives a good description of the entire Vedantic teaching. Please note that this book is not talking about Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, much detail. Of course, the reference is there, but the key focus is on the knowledge part. So the nature of Atma, it talks about the Jiva, Ishvara, Aikyam, all that topics are covered. So it's such a beautiful book. And remember, we started by enumerating the different scriptures in our world, right? In our Sanatana Dharma. So the ultimate scriptures are Vedas. Upanishads are part of that Vedas. And any secondary book which is based upon the theme of the Upanishad also can be called as Vedanta on a broader sense. And three major categories of book are called as the canonical textbooks in Vedanta: Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and Brahma Sutra. But one cannot directly enter into these textbooks easily. So you need a primer, which gives you an introduction before you get into these textbooks. And there are a lot of such Prakarana Granthas. There are two types of Prakarana Granthas. One is the book that act as an introduction. And there is a second category of Prakarana Grantha. You study that after studying these Prasthanatraya, which is the Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, and Brahma Sutra, to reconcile your teaching. The example of such Prakarana Granthas are Brahm means Panchadashi of Vidyaranya, Dakshinamurti Stotram of Shankaracharya belong to that post Prasthanatraya Prakarana Grantha. But this was an introductory Prasthanatraya book, which is Atma Bodha. It touches all the key topics you need to understand before we start the study of the Upanishads. This is one of the beautiful book. The beauty of this book is that almost every verse has a brilliant example. That's the beauty. Anybody wants to study this idea a little bit more detail, you can study a book called Viveka Chudamani. So if Atma Bodha is 68 verses, Viveka Chudamani is 700 verses. The same idea is elaborated by Shankaracharya. Nidithyasanam here has 6 or 7 verses. Viveka Chudamani has 40 to 50 verses.
It's still introductory book though.
It's still an introductory. The same idea we discussed in the Atma Bodha is elaborated in more verses. That's all. See, what's one challenge we have, right? The number of scriptures we have is too much. So that concludes the Atma Bodha. Any questions or anything, any comments?
So can you comment on Panchadasi? What is that actually, an advanced text?
It is an advanced text. So this Panchadashi does a detailed analysis of the Upanishad verses. It's a masterpiece work. It is written by not the Adi Shankaracharya, but a Shankaracharya in his lineage, known as Vidyaranya.
Yeah.
So Panchadashi it has means 5 times 10, 50 verses. It's beautiful. We will study that after some time. And there is another book called Dakshina Murti Stotram by Shankaracharya. We think that it is a hymn, but it is not a hymn. It's a hymn, but it is an advanced book. Every verse requires a detailed study.
See, I think the point is, Rajesh, I think from my experience for the past years, I mean, they appeal to our intellectual aspect of us, right? So it appeals, but unless we are prepared, in other words, some extent of the vairagya is a must in order to absorb these teachings. Otherwise, you just go over our head. Basically, we appreciate all nice text and that's it, pretty much. But in a day-to-day life, how are these useful, right? I mean, the question we used to ask, Swami Atma all the time. So, what is the metrics that I'm growing? What is the metric? How do you know that we are growing? That is right. So, I know it's a feeling good stuff is like in a mind candy, but what are the metrics? Like, for example, compared to 5 years, right now, we can easily say that, oh, these are the self-evident. Right, it's obvious. We know that is, but is it really true? That is right, and we are in a position to put in a words and explain to even us, basically within our own 10 of us. Right, for example, we are here. See, how I used to be before and now. That is, how these teachings helped me. That is, or they're just not able to help. For example, a particular issue that I faced in my life, day-to-day life, 5 years ago, I deal exactly the same way. That is, for example, right. So these are the things, we need to, as we continue to study these ones, we need to pursue these aspects also. We need to introspect this. Are these teachings sinking in or not, right? So therefore, my experience is that, this abhyasa and vairagya is the must, that is. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the famous answer given by Krishna in the 6th chapter.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the Karma Yoga comes into play. Like, that's where we can start immediately.
Yeah.
And if you follow Karma Yoga, I have no doubt, I can confidently say that you will feel that you will change. It's easy. This one, it takes time, but Karma Yoga is instantaneous. You will see that benefit immediately. Yeah. At least you feel good. Your maturity will improve. You will feel that you will see the things in a much different way. So,
yeah, I think the best opportunities are when we face some friction with anyone, right? It could be a colleague, it could be you go to a supermarket, something, happens, or even, I think the best would be actually even our spouses. Whenever something, argument or something happens, right? Just take a pause and introspect that. What is the origin of that friction? That is, what is the origin of that? And we don't have to come to any conclusions. Just introspecting, digging a little bit deeper into that itself is enough to actually overcome that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But important thing is that the mind needs to be tuned for that. And that's where the Karma Yoga and the Upasana Yoga, the daily practice of meditation, and the daily practice of Karma Yoga is very important. Because otherwise,
I think with those Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga, the same information you hear the second time, you feel like it's more getting to you. Like it's three of them kind of goes together, like complementary. The first time I hear, I may not understand it completely, but with those practices, then you come back and hear, yeah, now it makes sense. Kind of, it's the same thing that you're hearing, but the absorption is more.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why this Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam has to go in hand in hand with the daily meditation and Karma Yoga, because that's a lifestyle. If you follow that Karma Yoga is very simple. In fact, initially you make sure that you're not doing the tamasic karma, you're consciously doing swatik karma, and have that attitude. Initially, you may not be able to do everything. At work, you're in a tense situation. You may not be able to do the Ishwara Arpana Buddhi, Prasada Buddhi. That's fine. But easy way to apply. This is what Swami Dayananda was telling me. The charity work you are doing, the swatik work you are doing, can you dedicate that as Ishwara Arpana Buddhi and Prasada Buddhi? If you start there, it will strengthen your mental muscle. Exactly, that's the language he was using. And slowly, you will be able to extend that to your rajasic actions.
Yeah.
Rajesh, I mean, in my case, I'm just thinking, like, after because of this repeated, thought process, you keep doing it multiple times during the week or whatever it is, right? You're always, any action you're doing, you're always thinking, are you conforming to this whole understanding?
Right.
And I mean, that can be when things are good, that can be when things are bad, that can be, anything. Everything, you're always, are you conforming to this, to this teaching? That is constant. That's constant. And once that's constant, you can really feel the difference.
That's why satsang is very important, right? What we are doing is satsang. So it resonates in your mind always when you listen to that. Always.
Yes.
And the revolutionary teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is Karma Yoga. So he tells in the 18th chapter, which is probably one of the best things. Yat pravritti bhutanam yena sarvamidam tadam swakarmana tadarchasya siddhim vindati manavaha. He didn't say just do an exclusive puja for me, right? Again, the bhakti people will get mad, but this is exactly what Krishna's words. Yat pravritti bhutanam yena swakarmana tadarchasya. Worship me with your karma. That is the Ishwara Arpana Buddhi.
Yeah.
And here Shankaracharya, right? Go to the Tirtham. The best Tirtham is the Atma Tirtham. Subtle, sarcastic comments, but really good.
Yeah.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Does Vijay, what do you mean by vairagya? What are we saying here? Yes, you gain the knowledge, you know what needs to be done, but now vairagya, what do you mean by practicing vairagya?
So that means, see, the definition of, vairagya is viveka janya vairagya. That's what it is called, right? So viveka means what is right or wrong, that is. You need to develop that understanding, right? Atma, anatma viveka, right? Drig, drisha viveka, right? Pancha kosha viveka, right? Pancha bhuta viveka. This viveka, we need to develop that. So is our mind going after what? Is there something valuable, as a worthy, or is all the temporary thing, for example? Some of the examples that Rajesh quoted a number of times is that if our happiness or if our satisfaction is tied to only this, for example, iPhone 6, for example, the next year it's going to be over, that is. By then the new one will come, that is. So is our mind is attached to only this temporary thing, or something more founded, for example, or more permanent one, that is. We need to start thinking that. The relationships, the egos, for example, right? So these are things I'm talking about. Once you understand the temporariness, impermanentness of certain things, as you start analyzing, it becomes a habit for us always. So we won't get irritated or disappointed or being unhappy with all this temporary stuff, that is. It's okay, that's okay, it happens. That.
The simple definition of vairagya, Rohitji, is, let's say that I'm dieting. There is a beautiful cake or pastry in front of me, right? So my ability to detach, means to say no to that cake, not by suppressing myself, but because of the understanding that
It's not good for me.
Yeah, what is good for me.
So that whole power of discrimination.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what it is. So
Yes.
it's not just suppressing it, but I know that I'm dieting, I want to reduce 15 pounds, and this one act can completely spoil that. So with that understanding, my ability, my maturity to say no to certain things, that is vairagya.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the discrimination is a very, there's a negative connotation to that word, discrimination, right? It's very difficult to, use that word. Sometimes people get offended too, that is. So it's a true knowledge, that is. So we're not talking about any knowledge like, for example, what is Biden or, what is this stuff. We're not talking about the empirical knowledge of the stuff, that is, right? We're talking about the true knowledge, that is. What is the permanence of the things that.
So the Bhagavad Gita has a brilliant verse again. We studied that in the third chapter, right? Indriyasyarthe ragadveshau vyavasthitau. See, the nature of matter, because the body is matter, and based upon the way it is constructed, it will have likes and dislikes. And Krishna said, if you try to eliminate your likes and dislikes, impossible. So he tells the ragadveshas are okay, but don't come under their sway.
Yeah.
It is the dharma that should be driving us. There is nothing wrong in liking cakes. I love cakes, but some days I won't eat. But some days I take an exception and do that. But it is conscious decision. So don't come under their sway. And he said, Paripanthinaha, that's the word he used. Highway robbers. You're going to a destination. These are robbers that will pull you away from that path. So,
Yeah.
and Patanjali tells, Abhyasa vairagyapyam tan nirodha.
Yes.
The state of mental stability is achieved only through abhyasa and vairagya.
Yeah.
This is repeatedly said in our scriptures.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. And in either way, for example, I just thought of one example, that Osho used to quote. He uses Nasiruddin, right? Nasiruddin is a Sufi mystic, right? So apparently he was going one time with all his disciples, like 50 of them, to Mecca. And they are like 50 days, they're fasting and they're not eating anything, or once a day, something like that. And then when they reached 49th day, they were at a village, and one of the disciple in that village wanted to host them and then feed them also. So their nice feast was there. So, and he was so devoted to Nasiruddin. Nasiruddin could not say no to him. So he wanted to start eating, that is. And all of his disciples were surprised that, oh my God, we were there 49 days, we're fasting. How can you, break this fasting? So, but if they break the fasting, they had to start again 50 days again. So Nasiruddin had no problem actually. So he did not want to disappoint his devotee and then the follower and start eating. And then they start all over again that for 50 days. But his disciples were actually so disappointed, they couldn't fast another 40 days again, that is. So being attached to either one is a attachment here. Yeah.
Beautiful. So please read this book and post any questions. So that's the satsanga. Contemplate upon this mananam, because what we did is only shravana. And a kind of mananam, we try to connect the dots as much as possible, but it's very important to do the nidithyasana also. So please do that. So we'll take a break, and when we come back in September, we'll start with Isha Upanishads. And I remember the whole Vedanta class started with the request to start the Upanishads. So I was forcefully starting that with Introduction to Vedanta, followed by Atma Bodha. So we took almost 1 year plus to start the Upanishads. But now with this we can start Upanishads, Isha Upanishad.
Oh, next one is Isha, Rajesh?
Yeah.
Oh my God. The first word itself will blow your mind, completely shorted. Yes. Yeah.
So September we will start. In between, if you want to discuss a particular topic or a particular subject, please put your comments. We can do that.
Yeah, the EI, the seminar on EI, the famous. Yeah, one of these days, Rajesh.
Yeah, sure.
So Rajesh, so Adi Shankara, he wrote so many wonderful things, right? Like, so did he write anytime, like when he got Jivan Mukti? At what age?
It's a hard question, right? But from the style of his writing, we can assume that he is a Jivan Mukta, no doubt about it, because otherwise this much clarity won't be there.
Yes. Yeah.
Second thing is, please don't think that everything attributed to Shankara would have written by Shankara himself. We have a peculiar habit. In other cultures, people used to steal others' work. Here, somebody else write and put Shankara. It could be another Shankara in his lineage. So that's also could be true. I'm very honest.
Oh, it could be someone in the lineage over 1,000 years.
It could be. But this book, I believe that he wrote, because this is one of his final work. He wrote this book after compiling the Gita commentary and all. It is very evident because it is very much like comprehend this textbook. Again, this may offend some people, but I'm just telling my opinion. I don't think all the work attributed to Shankara.
Yeah, I too heard about it somewhere, but yeah, I was not sure actually.
Yeah, even people make such false claims. That's not going to add any glory to our culture. People say that Vyasa wrote 100,000 verses. Vyasa himself clarifies that. He didn't write 100,000 verses. He wrote only around 8,000 verses. So the Mahabharata in the original form was Jayam, right? So the Jayam had only 8,000 verses, which was told by Vyasa to Vaishampayana. And then this Jayam was retold by Vaishampayana to Janamejaya. Then it becomes 24,000. And then what Vaishampayana told Janamejaya was retold by Suta to Shamika Rishi, later point of time. Then it became 100,000. So from Jayam, it became Bharatam, it became Mahabharatam. So people like this. So
like the whisper story, right?
What is it?
It's like the whisper story.
Right.
You whisper to one person to another person. By the time
the thing is, beauty of the Mahabharata, it is faithfully repeated. Usually the telephone game, the message got completely distorted.
now this one they kept adding and adding to it, so it's
But this they just elaborated because these all were real self-realized masters, so they know what they're writing. So they never distorted the message. At least Mahabharata, it's brilliant.
Now the only problem we have is what do we do with July and August? You know, we will.
Mananam and Nityasan.
Exactly.
It's like Thursday evenings. I am booked now. I don't know what to do with my Thursday evenings.
Once in a while, we can have 1 or 2 classes, like as Rohitji said, emotional intelligence. We can try. We can try. I think Anu, you were asking me about prayer, right? Was it you, Anu, or somebody else? Somebody wanted to do some prayer. What is prayer? What is the meaning of the prayer? How the prayer is seen from the Vedantic point of view. I don't know, was it Anu or somebody else? Somebody else was asking me then. So that's could be one topic, but just decide and put that in the group. We'll pick one of them.
It would be nice to know the Satchinarayana Swami Puja or the ritualistic form, if you can explain.
First of all, I don't know much about Satyanarayana Puja.
Any puja.
Yeah, so probably Vijay can do that.
Yeah, that comes from the Skanda Puranam, right? So it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So we can, but what I can do is I can explain the prayer from a Vedantic point of view. So, because you will be amazed, because I quoted one mantra, right? Natatra Suryo Bhati Nachandra Charakam. So, a lot of mantras you chant in prayers, it has a deeper meaning. So, that part I can help. Okay. So, thank you. So, we will do the invocation and then we will continue. Means I also need to prepare for this Isha Upanishads. I'll have all the slides prepared, detailed slides for the 18 mantra, because this is not easy. We are covering with Shankara's commentary. So it is going to be heavy. So good preparation required. So that's also I'll be doing in the next 2 months. Okay, thank you. So Anu, could you do the Purnamada Purnamida?
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.